According to the medieval polymath Abu Yahya Zakaria bin Muhammad al-Qazwini, Al-Bahamut is said to be enormous beyond comprehension. Al-Qazwini describes the bull as having 40,000 eyes, 40,000 noses, 40,000 ears, 40,000 mouths, 40,000 tongues, and 40,000 legs. Question: could the creatures, monsters, demons, and gods created by the early 20th century novelist H.P. Lovecraft have ever been real? Well, the short answer is no. The longer answer is a bit more, well, complicated. Partially based on Middle Eastern and North African folklore, as well as a twisted view of Islamic eschatology and Sufism, Lovecraft essentially popularized the notion of cosmic horror as a form of science fiction that states that our world is just one thin veil away from another world filled with unspeakable monsters and horrors waiting to enter ours. The line between this fiction and real-life horror is sometimes blurred, even when that horror is exaggerated beyond reason. In the 21st century, some say the governments of the world are hiding the existence of vast demonic entities who wish to devour the world and turn humans insane. However, a more grounded and realistic notion for the existence of these creatures can be found in Islamic Sufism, as well as other Abrahamic and pre-Abrahamic traditions across the Middle East, from Turkey to Yemen. In this episode, we're going to look at what these creatures are, how they differ from Lovecraft, and where relevant, show where this horror is real. Dark, nihilistic, yet sublime. These are the three words that can sum up Lovecraft's cosmic horror, a subgenre of science fiction home to a plethora of evil monsters. Some of the most famous of these monsters include the Elder Gods, or the Old Men, a loose pantheon of ancients, evil deities from space who once ruled the earth and who have since fallen into a deep sleep. If they are awakened, they have the ability to eat entire planets and galaxies, consuming the bodies and souls of their worlds in agonizing pain. Then there is Nyarlathotep, an evil deity that can shapeshift into over 1,000 different forms. This beast is so terrifying that one glance of it is enough to drive a man insane. When it assumed the form of a human, it turned into an Egyptian pharaoh. And of course, there is Cthulhu, the fictional cosmic entity shaped like an octopus, a dragon, and a human, all in one form. Although all these entities are fictional, within Islam and Judaism, similar creatures exist and make up part of their belief systems. Within Islam, and particularly in ancient Arab folklore, there is a large cosmic creature known as falak. This giant serpent mentioned in the 1001 Nights has the potential to consume all life on earth, but stays buried beneath the sea out of fear of God. According to some sources, this creature is just one of many serpents that go by the name of falak. And even though they do not have the ability to destroy the planet whole, they are still dangerous to humans. In the Arabian Nights, which is entirely a work of fiction and holds no weight Islamically, it says, when Allah created the serpent, He said to it by inspiration, I will give thee somewhat to keep for me, so open thy mouth. The serpent replied, do whatso thou wilt, and opened his mouth, and God placed hell into his maw, saying, keep it until the day of resurrection. When that time comes, the Almighty will send His angels with chains to bring hell and bind it until the day when all men shall meet. And the Lord will order hell to go open its gates, and there will issue therefrom sparks bigger than the mountains. Another kind of cosmic serpent can be found in Armenian folklore, but unfortunately, like the falak, at least one of them may still exist today in the 21st century. Let me explain. In an earlier episode, we spoke about the extensive range of anomalous activities in and around Lake Van in Turkey. In 1909, while excavating Armenia's Temple of Garni, not too far from the lake, a huge discovery was made by Nikolai Yakovlevich Mar, a Georgia-born historian and linguist, and Yakov Smirnov, a senior curator from Russia's Hermitage Museum. While studying the area, they heard rumors of strange creatures known as Vishapakar or Vishaps, powerful sea serpent-type creatures from Armenian folklore, roaming the mountain area. Although these creatures are said to have their home in the lake when they're in a young or proto stage, the more they consume, the more they grow, soon having the ability to walk on land and then become so large their size can engulf an entire planet. These creatures were believed to be so powerful they even appear in ancient Egyptian tradition where they battled their ancient gods. But according to Armenian folklore, it was only Vahan, a dragon slayer, who was capable of defeating these creatures. According to legend, every so often, Vahan would plunge into Lake Van to kill any Vishap that had grown large enough to devour the world, therefore saving humanity from being consumed. Intrigued with the possibility of discovering a previously unclassified type of animal, Mar and Smirnov put together an expedition and explored the area where the sightings were said to have occurred. What they found over the next 2 years, right across the Armenian plateau, were not actual monsters, but stone representations of them, estimated to date back to 1 millennium BC. These creatures were Lovecraftian in scale, and could even be considered as a member of the Old Ones or Elder Gods if they appeared in the pages of H.P. Lovecraft's mythos. According to Lovecraft himself, the Old Ones were dead alien deities buried inside the earth or under the sea that, if awoken, would consume humans and potentially destroy the planet, exactly like the Vishaps. The point where this folklore crosses over from archaeological history to modern horror was in April 1889, 10 years before Mar and Smirnov's discovery. Here, the Ottoman Empire established a scientific committee to research into the existence of a sea monster responsible for taking the life of at least one man and traumatizing 2 others with its appearance. The creature, which had dragged its victims below the lake after a protracted struggle with the 3 men, was described as looking like a sea serpent, perhaps a Vishap creature, in its proto-stage of development. And although the Ottoman Committee failed to find any evidence for its existence, 100 years later in the mid-1990s, a whole string of new sightings of strange monsters in and around the lake prompted the Turkish government to spend money into investigating the anomalies. Although many saw the Turkish government's sudden interest in the existence of ancient sea creatures as merely a publicity stunt to boost tourism, throughout the 2000s up until today, the mystery of Lake Van's Vishaps persist. To see our in-depth deep dive, pun not intended, we did a research on this topic in an earlier video. Check the description box below. Other world-engulfing cosmic horrors from the region can be found in apocryphal Islamic texts such as Bahamut. Another one of God's creations, this creature was not only bigger than the earth, but also the multiverse, said to be a giant bull that carries the 7 variations or dimensions of it on its back. According to the medieval polymath Abu Yahya Zakaria bin Muhammad al-Qazwini, in his book Ajaib al-Makhluqat wa Gharaib al-Mawjudat, translated in English as The Marvels of Things Created and Miraculous Aspects of Things Existing, Al-Bahamut is said to be enormous beyond comprehension. Al-Qazwini describes the bull as having 40,000 eyes, 40,000 noses, 40,000 ears, 40,000 mouths, 40,000 tongues, and 40,000 legs. The distance between each of the bull's pair of legs would take 500 years to cover. Other polymaths and medieval scholars from that time give more specific variations of these figures, but today in the 21st century, most Islamic scholars do not believe this creature actually exists and view it merely as a remnant from pagan Arab belief that survived till the medieval age. However, Al-Bahamut was not just a belief early Muslim Arabs had. It also existed in the Jewish tradition, otherwise known as Behemoth in English and Behema in Hebrew. The creature is found in the biblical books of Job and Psalms. This creature is seen as a peaceful entity despite being incredibly powerful. Other powerful entities of note include Duma, a powerful but fearsome angel from the Islamic and Jewish traditions that is believed to exist in a trans-dimensional gateway beneath Hadramut in Yemen and has authority over damned souls and those waiting judgment in a type of purgatory between our world and hell. There is an urban legend that states that 3 academics from Hadramut University encountered Duma in the 90s, leading to the disappearance of one of them. Although this encounter quite likely never took place, the angel is considered by many to still be real, and his location in Yemen is still playing a significant role in the apocalypse with Islamic texts, saying that a great fire would originate from there and engulf much of the world. Today, modern technology indicates that a large part of Yemen sits on top of multiple volcanoes, a few of which in recent times have begun to rumble. If they were ever to blow, they would be fulfilling a key prophecy concerning the end of days. Whether you believe in the existence of these creatures or not, the parallels between Lovecraft's cosmic horrors and Middle Eastern pagan and Abrahamic folklores are obvious. Although some would call it inspiration, while others say plagiarism, in his paper, The Darker Islam Within the American Gothic, Sufi Motifs in the Stories of H.P. Lovecraft, Ian Almond from Georgian University School in Qatar, he says, "The idea of an alien race lurking on the edge of civilization, waiting to rise up in the Orient and take over our reality, is by no means unfamiliar." Here, Lovecraft's ability to adapt and then subvert Middle Eastern traditions into something darker and more terrifying is what makes his work chilling. Almond states that cosmic horror, or cosmicism, is a cynical invention or complete opposite of peaceful Sufi mysticism that wishes to lift the dark veil that separates our ordinary world from the world of supernatural threats and monsters, such as Cthulhu or the Vishaps. Alternatively, Sufism or Tasawwuf is a mystical form of Islam that emphasizes the inward search for God and shuns materialism. In Sufism, veils are often seen as temporary signs, as an attempt to dilute, diffuse, and even hide the unspeakable magnitude of God. The 13th century Sufi thinker, Ibn Arabi, says the Prophet said, "God has 70 veils of light and darkness. Were he to remove them, the glories of his face would burn away everything perceived by the sight of his creatures. While these veils exist, they prevent us from seeing him in this mighty nearness." Conversely, Lovecraft portrays the complete opposite, where instead of humanity being protected from the light and brilliance of God, the veil is meant to preserve the sanity of the observer from complete madness. This has probably been one of the most well-known features of Lovecraft's stories, where the more his protagonists learn about the Old Ones and ancient demons, the closer they come to losing their minds. Lovecraft embraced the philosophy of cosmic indifferentism. He believed in a meaningless, mechanical, and uncaring universe that human beings, with our naturally limited faculties, could never fully understand. But there is a danger in taking this viewpoint too seriously, and forgetting that his stories are ultimately entertainment. The very fact that we are still alive and that we can grow, evolve, and thrive in this universe suggests that it, and the veiled hidden force behind it, is more caring than we can imagine. That said, that doesn't mean there is no evil in this world, and that evil can't harm us. The next episode will be a full-length preview of the first of many Patreon-only episodes called The Mysterious Middle East Dark, that looks at the far more disturbing side of the esoteric North Africa and Middle East. Patreons can already watch the first episode now as an early access episode here on YouTube before we make it public to everyone else, but the following episodes will only be Patreon exclusive, as the content will not be YouTube friendly. Or if you don't care and just want to help the channel grow, be sure to sign up on Patreon if you're interested. And if you can't or do not want to join, that's fine. Regular family-friendly episodes will continue as usual here on this main channel. Anyway, thanks for watching.